I was the one who caught Wendy cheating in the van. My name is Miles. Silence. The shouldered hoe resting on my shoulder felt slick and heavy with sweat. The perfume of dirt mixed with green grass is the smell I've known best for 30 years. But today the wind at the mouth of Lawson carried something wrong. It slapped my face with restlessness. The rammed earth gate to our yard stood ajar. I pushed it and called out, "Wendy, I'm home." No answer. The rooms were hollow. Only a couple of flies buzzed. Our 8-year-old Maya squatted under the yard's parasol tree, poking an anthill with a twig. Focused as a surgeon, sweat beaded her forehead. Her small face was sun-scorched red. "Maya, where's your mom?" She lifted her head, dark eyes sharp on mine, voice bright. "Mommy left with a big brother." My heart dropped like a stone. Big brother? Huh, they took our van. I jerked my gaze to the corner of the yard where our only ride, a half-worn Liberation minivan, was supposed to be. Empty space. I'd bought that van drop by sweaty drop, squeezing every spare dime so Wendy could drive Maya to the clinic in town. A cold viper of warning slithered up my spine. I tossed the hoe aside, too rushed to wash off dirt or sweat. "Which way?" Maya pointed the twig toward the rutted path east of Lawson that climbs toward the back hills. I didn't ask again. I ran. The track is potholed, leading straight to the abandoned old quarry where only cattle ever wander. My pace quickened. My heart drummed like a threshing machine. Rounding a bend, I spotted our van. It wasn't on the road. It had been nosed into a hidden gully, circled by waist-high weeds like a natural blind. I slowed, held my breath, stalked like a hunter who'd finally picked up the trail. Wind carried noises, no voices. Fabric brushing fabric. Then muffled, hurried kisses. My feet turned to lead. Every step weighed a ton. I crouched, slipped through a thicket, and eased to the gully rim. The van's windows were limo dark, but the back door stood cracked open an inch. The sounds leaked through that slit. "Haley, go easy." It was Wendy. I'd know that voice in a thunderstorm, but the purr and gasp in it belonged only to the nights she and I shared. "Keep it down. So what if someone hears?" A young man's voice, rough with a grin. "If Miles finds out, we're finished. That loser. Right now he's still grubbing in the dirt. He's got no time for you." His words were a red-hot poker jammed in my ear, then clearer panting. The van's tired shocks squeaking in rhythm. Each squeak hammered my chest. I clenched my teeth until my jaw cracked. Fingernails dug into my palms without pain. The world shrank to those obnoxious squeaks and Wendy's rising moans. "Haley, you're so much better than him." "Damn right. I'll take care of you. But what happens later?" "Come with me. I'll support you." Silence. Only heavy breathing. "I can't." "What about Maya?" Uncertainty edged her voice. "Yet it wasn't for me. It's just a girl. Bring her along." "No, I can't do that." The motion finally stopped. I thought it was over, but the squeaking soon fired up again, wilder than before. Once, twice, 3 full rounds. Only when they were both spent did the van go still. A couple of minutes later a shirtless guy hopped out. Tall, chalk white, nothing like us sun-roasted field hands. He lit a cigarette, sucked it easy, then watered the weeds with a long piss. Without a glance back, he strolled off down a side trail and disappeared. I stayed put, blood frozen. A few minutes after that Wendy slid out, slow, hair tousled, blush fading. She fussed with her collar. The floral blouse I'd bought her last market day looked garish under the sun. I rose from the bushes and stepped into the open. My sudden presence hit like thunder. Wendy froze. Every drop of color drained from her face. Buttons dangled forgotten in her fingers. What are you doing here?" Her voice quivered apart. I looked at her, said nothing. My gaze slid past to the van still gently rocking. She followed it and panicked worse. I just ran to buy something." The lie was paper thin, no store for miles of scrub. Still I kept silent. Silence scared her more than questions. She dropped her eyes, wringing the blouse tails. Finally I spoke, so hoarse I didn't recognize myself. "Let's go home." I turned and walked toward Lawson. Without another look I got behind the wheel, drove her back. Each stride, each yard, felt like it used every ounce I had. That night I said nothing, behaved as if nothing had happened. At supper I spooned shredded potatoes onto Maya's plate the way she liked. Wendy barely lifted her chopsticks. Head bowed. In bed she lay apart, then, long after the lamp was off, she rolled over and hugged me from behind. Her skin burned, trembling. She pressed against me, urgent, as if to make up for it, to prove something. I neither pushed her away nor joined in. I was a log, letting letting her spend herself on me. In the dark I stared at the ceiling crack shaped like a wound that would never close. A few days later the young man showed up at our door on his own. The day I got back from peddling vegetables in town, I stepped into the yard and heard noises coming from the bedroom. I pushed the door open. That young fellow, Li Hao, was in my bed with my wife, Wendy. My bed. The walnut bed my father had built with his own hands the year we got married. Li Hao didn't flinch. He just eased himself up nice and slow, straightened his shirt, and gave me a lazy grin. Wendy clutched the quilt like a startled rabbit, wrapping every inch of herself. Miles, what are you doing home? I looked at her, then at him. He flashed a mouthful of white teeth, plucked my pack off the nightstand, and offered me a smoke. Have a cigarette, bro. I didn't take it. Wendy rushed to explain. The bed, it's been squeaking. I asked him to fix it. Fix the bed. Fix it while lying in it. Fix it with no clothes on. I laughed coldly inside, face blank. Forget the repair. I said it flat. We'll get a new one. Wendy went pale. Waste of money. We're saving every dollar for Maya's school. She hid behind our kid again. Just then Maya ran in, saw Li Hao, and chirped, "Big brother, you're still here." Then she tilted her little head and told me, innocent as daylight, "Daddy, that big brother stayed in mommy's room a long time." The air froze. Li Hao's smile flickered for a second, then slid right back to easy arrogance. He locked eyes with me. Pure challenge. I asked, "Where you from?" "Next town, Lawson." "What do you do?" He flicked ash, smirked. "Bed repair." I said nothing more, turned, and walked out. Another minute and the cleaver in my hand would have done the talking. The third time I caught them was in Lawson out behind the houses. The corn stood shoulder high. I was hunting a lost goat when I saw stalks thrashing. I waded in. Sure enough, there they were, clothes half off. Wendy's face still flushed. Li Hao greeted me with the same lazy smile, like I was nobody. This time I didn't stay quiet. I looked straight at him and said, slow and clear, "Stay away from my family." My voice stayed calm, but steel underneath. He blinked, surprised that the loser had words in him. Wendy darted over, grabbing my arm, crying, "Miles, I'm sorry. Tears on demand. I had no choice. You can't give me what I need." She pulled a wad of crumpled bills from her pocket and pressed it into my hand. $2,000? Hao gave it. "You'd slog a month for this." The money was warm from her skin. I stared at it and laughed. "So money's all it takes?" She stepped back, scared. "No, I just thought, if you took work away from here, I could stay home with Maya. Our life would be easier." My eyes turned to ice. "Easier for you and him to screw in peace?" The words sliced. Every mask fell. Her face went chalk white. "Sorry, Miles. I swear I'm done. Really done." She kept apologizing. I believed none of it. Then, almost whispering, "Actually, Hao treats me well. He bought me new clothes." She pointed at the bright red dress, the color of fresh blood. I thought she was flaunting it, but she looked at me, hopeful. I wore it for you." "Get lost." I finally roared. I hurled the $2,000 in her face. She froze, then ran off sobbing. "I'll never wear it again." In the end, I did what she asked. I left town for work, not so those two could play house, but because the family was broke. I found a crew at a construction site, hauling bricks, slinging cement, every filthy job they had. I promised myself I'd hitch back every 2 weeks to see Maya. 14 days later I came home with a new backpack and snacks for her. I pushed the gate open, and there he was. Li Hao lounged in my yard, smoking, teasing Maya. He saw me, totally unworried, even brushed dust off my shoulder like we were pals. "Hey, bro, back already?" My hand, reaching for my key, clenched into a fist, but I held it. I asked, "How often you drop by?" He grinned, like it was obvious. "Whenever I feel like it. Pretty much daily." Then, almost scolding, "You should give a heads up next time." Like he lived here and I was the intruder. I knew, soon as my back was turned he'd swallow my house, my land, my woman. Wendy is beautiful, famous for it round here. If she ran off with him, what happened to Maya? So I didn't hit him, didn't curse. That night I sat in the yard alone, drinking the fiercest moonshine. The liquor scalded my throat, but the hole inside stayed empty. Wendy came out with a plate of peanuts, wearing that red dress, moonlight making her glow. She pressed against me, fingers trailing my back, voice soft and teasing. I pretended to play along, smiled like I meant it, heart frozen solid. Afterwards I lay in bed smoking one cigarette after another. I asked, "What do I have to do to keep you away from that man?" She was silent so long I thought she'd fallen asleep. "I'm alone here, bored, lonely." Her voice drifted from the dark. I said, "Come to the site with me. We'll stay together, all three of us." She hesitated. She knew what that meant, leaving Li Hao. I even heard they'd screamed at each other about it. Andy didn't want her to leave, but in the end she took Maya and came with me to the construction site. We rented the cheapest Lawson we could find, just down the road from the dust and jackhammers. In summer it steamed like a rice cooker. In winter it froze like an icebox. We enrolled Maya in the nearby elementary school as a transfer student. I thought a new place would let us start over. I was wrong. I had underestimated Andy's shamelessness and overestimated Wendy's spine. Within a week Andy showed up on the job himself. Somehow he'd wrangled a spot on the same crew. The kicker, Foreman Old clapped me on the shoulder and told me to look after a kid from back home. Miles. He's some kind of cousin. Right. Show him the ropes. He's young and quick. I stared at Andy's half smirk and felt my stomach turn. I'm not babysitting, I said. I spun on my heel and left the two of them standing there. That night I walked back to our cramped Lawson. The smell of hot fat hit me the moment I cracked the door. On the folding table sat a glistening roast chicken, skin lacquered bronze. Andy was already inside, tearing off a drumstick and handing it to Maya. The kids' cheeks shone with grease and delight. Wendy sat beside them, smiling at the scene like it was a family portrait. I was the one who didn't belong. Without a word I turned around, walked to the roadside stall, and ordered the cheapest bowl of plain noodles. They were stiff and tasteless, but I wolfed them down anyway, swallowing humiliation along with every bite. Wendy found me there. She stood behind me and asked softly, "Why aren't you eating at home? Street food isn't clean." I didn't look up. Going back would stop my heart. She went quiet. She knew what I meant. After a while she whispered, "Give me a little time." "Okay, I'll sort it out." I didn't answer. When I returned to the Lawson later, half the chicken was still on the tray. Wendy held it out. "Eat some. It's still warm." I asked, "Did that guy pay for it?" She nodded. Maya was craving it, so I let her have it. I stared at the bird and couldn't swallow a bite. A few days later I came off shift to see Maya barreling in with her arms full of junk food, chips, Jell-O cups, the chocolate bars she loved. "Dad, look, I've never had so many snacks." My gut sank. "Who bought these?" Mom gave me money. That evening she munched away while we waited for Wendy. Left, right, no sign of her. Suddenly Maya's chin quivered. "Dad, why isn't Mom home yet?" I stroked her hair. She must have been held up. But I knew, Wendy wasn't coming back, at least not tonight. Sure enough, she didn't. First night, absent. Second night, absent. Third night, still absent. I called her countless times. No one picked up. I lay on the cold plank bed replaying our newlywed days. How she'd glow when I brought her a single candied hawthorn. How she'd squeeze my hand and swear we'd grow old together. Those memories flickered like an old film strip, then ripped in half. I had no idea how to let go. On the fourth day she reappeared, haggard yet carrying some unreadable fire in her eyes. The first thing she said detonated in my ears. "Miles, I'm pregnant." My mind went white static. I heard my own voice. "Whose?" "Yours." Of course, she shot back, almost too fast, as though covering something. I swallowed the accusation, but the circus was just starting. The next afternoon Andy marched up to the dorm with his parents, legendary troublemakers from the next county. They cornered me inside the Lawson. His mother, a dried-up twig of a woman, jabbed a finger at my face. "Miles, are you even a man?" Hogging the seat but doing nothing. "My boy and Wendy love each other. Get the divorce and set them free." His father, thick as a cottonwood trunk, folded his arms and glared like he wanted to bite. Andy wore a smug grin, arm looped around Wendy's waist. "Miles, face it. Wendy's heart left you ages ago. Keep the shell if you want, but you'll never keep her." I ignored them and looked straight at Wendy. "Do you want a divorce?" She shivered and whispered, "I don't know. I'm torn." Torn. I almost laughed. I let it drop. I even forced a smile for Maya, who had run in. "Look, Maya, Mom's back." "Happy?" Maya squealed and flung herself at Wendy. "Mommy." I pretended everything was fine, stepped outside, and bought Maya's favorite roast chicken from the corner stand. Seemed I was learning to paper over tidal waves with poultry. Andy, though, wasn't finished. He upped the pressure. When I still wouldn't sign, he came after me with fists. One noon, in front of the whole crew, he shoved me down and jammed a boot on my chest. Spit flying. "Garbage. Sign it or I'll bury you." Hit me and I hit back. We ended up bruised and swollen. Neither the clear winner. Back in the Lawson that night Wendy dabbed iodine on my split lip. Eyes soft with something like regret. "Next time you see him, just walk away," she murmured. I stared at her. "When are you going to fix this?" "Soon. A few more days." I waited. Then I saw her strolling the site road hand in hand with Andy, close as honeymooners. I approached anyway. Wendy yanked her hand free like she'd been burned. "I twisted my ankle," she stammered. "He was helping me." That night she cried in our Lawson, swearing her heart held only me. That Andy's pressure left her no room to breathe. I wanted to believe her, almost did. After that, Andy's shadow darkened our doorway more often than not. He didn't even treat me like an outsider. He groped Wendy right in front of me. He acted as if I were thin air. Until the day he screwed up at the construction site. He was messing with the tower crane on his own, lost in a daydream, and the jib slammed into the rebar frame beside it. Several tons of steel bars came down like dominoes, smashing the fresh concrete foundation below. The loss was huge. The foreman lost it on the spot and threatened to call the cops. Hao was terrified. He knew that once this got out he'd be on the hook for a mountain of cash, and maybe jail time. He came to me. For the first time he spoke almost like he was begging. Miles, bro, do me this one favor. Tell the foreman you accidentally bumped the lever and I didn't stop you in time. Don't worry, you'll sit a few days. I swear I'll take care of Wendy and Maya, and nobody will give them any grief. He still thought I was the same pushover he could pinch whenever he liked. He still thought I'd swallow it like always. Wendy stood beside him, fingers hooked in my shirt hem, eyes wavering, pleading. Miles. Maya peeked out from behind me, little head poking around, scared she was about to cry. Right then I looked at them, Hao putting on his act. Wendy caught in the middle, Maya helpless. All the rage I'd been hoarding for months and years finally found a crack to pour through. For once I grew a spine. I stared straight into Hao's eyes and said, slow and clear, no. Hao froze. Wendy froze. They hadn't seen that coming. Hao's face went the color of liver. He jabbed a finger at me and screamed, Miles, are you out of your damn mind? You want to watch me die? Exactly. I hoped he did. I didn't answer. I took Maya's hand, turned, and walked away. In the end, the foreman dialed 911. Hao was cuffed for gross negligence and hauled off. On the ride to the lockup, an accident happened. The patrol car swerved to miss an oncoming dump truck, smashed through the guardrail, and flipped. Hao was dead on the spot. When the news reached me, I was stacking bricks. I kept my face blank while the guys gossiped. But the bricks in my hands suddenly felt lighter, because Hao died while on company business. The contractor and the insurer owed a fat compensation payout. His parents wailed and clawed for the money, but Hao had no wife, no kids. By law the cash should have gone to them. Only I knew a secret. When Hao joined the crew he'd scribbled Wendy's name in the emergency contact line. In the relationship box he'd written 2 words by hand, spouse. I tracked down the project manager, the grim-faced guy who usually chewed us out. I produced my marriage certificate and household register, both Wendy's and mine. I added her latest ultrasound, my kid, our legal child. I told him Hao was just some distant cousin crashing at our place. Maybe that's why he listed my wife. The manager only wanted the headache gone. He eyed the marriage license, then Wendy's swollen belly, and chose to trust the simple, honest laborer in front of him. Plus, Hao's folks were making scenes on site. Handing the money to reasonable folks like us sounded better. Humble as a church mouse. I signed every piece of paper. I promised to grab the check and vanish from the county forever. A few days later the huge sum hit my account. So many digits I had to blink. More than I could earn slinging bricks for life. I packed Wendy and Maya that same night and left the dust and clangor of the construction site. We rolled back to Lawson. Hao's parents were still raising hell at the gate. When they learned the payout had gone to me they almost fainted from rage. They stormed my house, howling that I had no heart, that I'd burn for it. I didn't argue. I simply shut the door and let them curse on the porch. Wendy studied me, eyes unreadable. She hadn't figured I had that kind of cold move in me. She asked, Miles, that money. I cut her off. It's our money. I glanced at her belly. It's for you, for Maya, and for the baby on the way. She said nothing more. Maybe in her book cash beats principal every time. I used the payout to build a 2-story house in town, white walls, red tile roof, standing proud among the dirt-colored shacks. I also bought a shiny new car that made the old van look like a joke. Neighbors green-eyed me, said Miles must have stepped in gold to strike it rich on one lousy job. Only I know what that luck cost. Wendy never utters Hao's name again. She stays home, minds the pregnancy, looks after Maya. She's gentler now. Tea ready when I walk in. Shoulders rubbed without my asking. Her eyes hold less scorn, more caution. But I can feel it. Something between us has shattered for good. The pieces won't fit back. Months later Wendy delivers. A boy, pink and plump. I name him Andy, peaceful, safe. I want him to live untouched by the mess we came through. On his 1-month day I throw a feast for the whole of Lawson. I carry Andy table to table while toasts rain down. Everybody says I'm the luckiest man alive, son and daughter in one go. I keep smiling and draining cups. The liquor burns, yet my head stays clear. I gaze at the sleeping infant, the brows, the little nose, barely a trace of me, more like the ash-filled urn of that young man now gone. My heart stays flat, almost calm. I finally understand. You don't have to outfight the devil. You only have to watch him sprint down his own mad road. Then, coolly, pick up whatever's left when he smashes into the wall. That is my revenge. Soundless, but straight through the heart.